Here we go. Hi, everybody. I'm just getting set up here and I'm going to start recording. I'm going to say hello to everybody. Welcome. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the GoldFish Report. I'm your host and researcher, Louisa. Hi there. Nice to see everybody in the live chat. There's just some people just starting to come in. Well, this is our weekly POTUS report, as you know, on Saturday nights. It's Saturday, July 18th, 2020. And today is GoldFish Report number 527. It's week 180, folks. The president's been in office for 180 weeks this week. How do you like that? Hi, everybody. Hi, Maria. Hi, Morgan. Hi, Jake. Celtic Warrior. Hello. Hi, Tracy. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining me. And from the time the president took office until now, it seems like the world has gone mad. Just mad. Just completely mad. Doesn't it? Is it me? I see. Okay. We're also simulcasting this on Ascension Radio, so I want to welcome also all the listeners on Ascension Radio, as we do every Saturday night, which is one of the reasons why we do our live stream on Saturday, because we have a spot on Saturday nights for our live stream. Ow, this is bothering me. I have to move it. So I just want to say hello to everybody. Isn't it it's a mad, 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 mad world, isn't it? It's so mad. It's crazy, but it's a mad world. Hi, Shari, dear. How are you? Thanks for joining me tonight. It is a mad world. It's mad. It's mad. I don't know how else to say it. I'm looking through, before I start this POTUS report tonight, I'm looking through Twitter and I'm seeing pictures of people of, I guess, black BLM, members trying to put black paint over. I think they repainted MAGA over, outside of the Trump Tower in New York City, and these activists or anarchists are trying to put black paint over all of it, and the police are trying to arrest the person and getting. I mean, it's just a mad world. And then now we've got video of yeah. Now we've got video. Let me screen share some of this madness, because it's it came to my awareness that not everybody gets to see these images. So I'm going to screen share it for everybody. Let's see what we got before I start my POTUS report. Let's see what's happening. What's going on? What on earth is going on over here? Let's check it out. Let's check it out. What's going on here? Is there any volume on this? Let's see. Is there volume? No, there's no volume on this. This is a statue of Columbus, and they're throwing projectiles. They're throwing sticks, stones, bars, metal bars. They're throwing all kinds of things at this. There's a way to address our history the proper way, but this is not the way to do it. This is not the way to do it. Look at this. Where is this? Where do you think? Oh, this one's in Chicago. You'd think it was in, like Seattle or something, or Portland. But this one is in Chicago. So Tom Fenton from Judicial Watch has shared that today. And it's kind of crazy, isn't it? Look at that. And here she is. This is a woman who was being arrested. One of the police officers was injured during this arrest. I think if this was tar, or I don't know what it was, but she got it in the eye, or hit the eye of the police officer who was there. Let's see what ridiculous.
Liars! In the name of Jesus! Jesus matters! Black lives don't matter! Jesus matters! Jesus matters! Jesus matters! Jesus matters! Stand up! Take your country back! Amen. Take your country back! Amen. We're dying left and right! They're gonna kill us! Take your country back! Take your country back! Take your country back! Take the USA back! Take it back!
Well, okay, so that's not what was on the other caption. Well, Interesting, though, isn't it? It's kind of what all the patriots are trying to tell everybody to do, is take the country back. I agree, but I'm not so sure I don't know what's going on there. I don't know. She was trying to paint over something there. We'll see. Okay, so as we know, Fauci's a disaster bureaucrat, according to Mark Levin, way over his head, looking for scapegoats, of course, playing politics. The wrong man for our times. It's that simple. Sure. But hey, you know what? The president doesn't have to announce to everybody he's invoking the Insurrection Act, because he's the commander in chief and he can do it. So here you have the U.S. swoops down on Portland protesters after Trump order to protect the statues. So we see lots of videos being posted on Twitter about people, like their unmarked cars. You have either military or some kind of, police who are in these unmarked vans, and they're coming and they're just swooping up and they're arresting some of these Antifa terrorists. So, it does need to be designated as a terrorist organization. I'm not quite sure what's taking so long, but, it's very clear, folks, that our president is up against a very, very negative force, very, very dark force. And we really need to pray for him, absolutely need to pray for him every day and his family. I have heard some unconfirmed reports of some things that, excuse me, sorry, I can't report right now, but she yells Trump 20. Yeah, I see that. So it's not, well, she wasn't a BLM, but she looked like she was. All right. So it was mislabeled in the comment. So I did recheck it. Thank you. Thanks for watching us from the UK. Thank you so much. Yep. Yeah, they have played too much. Definitely, definitely a lot going on. I definitely saw two versions of that. So it was misreported. Why she was being arrested was unclear, though, because initially it was being reported that she was part of Black Lives Matter, but it looks like that's an inaccurate report. So I'm glad I caught that while I was reporting it. So anyway, let's move along. We have The Intercept reporting that scientists pin blame for some coronavirus deaths on air pollution. Well, it's just going to keep going, isn't it? Interesting. China vows retaliation as Trump slaps sanctions on officials, companies interfering with Hong Kong's autonomy. Of course, Joe Biden and the Democrats continue to favor China's interests over that of the United States. All right, let's get moving along about now. Yeah. Ugh. Unbelievable stuff here, folks. Check this out. What does this mean? I think we all know what this means. We have Ellen DeGeneres here. She's tweeting something out to Portia de Rossi. Yeah, that's her girlfriend. And they're showing pizza here. Picking up your next victim looks like you on a boat, international water. What do you think's going to happen with this little girl? Who is it? Who is the little girl? What's going on? I don't know, folks. Really, really sick things, I think, are happening. And of course, we have the passing of John Lewis. Of course, some say he's Elijah Cummings, but nobody can really tell the difference. So lots of people, Mark Taylor is reporting this is a possible sacrifice from the dark. I'm telling you, folks, we are up against some very, very, very dark forces. We really need to be praying for our president every single day. This stuff is really, really intense stuff. So let's get moving along. We have here the West Wing reads from the White House. Let's take a look at what they have to say. West Wing reads, First Lady makes surprise visit and delivers box lunches to women and children's shelter. Melania Trump made a surprise visit and delivered box lunches on Thursday to a women's and children's shelter in Washington, D.C. Katie Jerkovitz reports from the Daily Caller. It is important that even in these challenging times, we find ways to help and connect with people and acknowledge the important work that is being done in countless communities across the United States, the First Lady said. Also, nearly half of New York City's 205 shootings played out across 10 historically crime-ridden precincts during the bloodiest June on record in 1990 since 1996. The surge in violence also correlates with the disbanding of the NYPD's anti-crime unit of plainclothes officers who focused on taking guns off the street, according to the New York Post. Schools should be open in the fall. It's critical for meeting the educational and social needs of children, but local officials should have the discretion to take tailored actions to help keep children safe. I've talked to Republican and Democrat governors about their strategies. The commitment to reopening is universal. Former FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb writes in the Wall Street Journal. And Seattle Police Chief Carmen Best on Friday accused the city council of recklessness and political pandering by advocating to slash her department's budget by 50%, arguing that cutting funds to that extent would be asking citizens to test out a theory that crime goes away if police go away. Fox News reports. So that's from earlier in the week. We're going to move along. We also had a press conference. We had President Trump's press conference in the Rose Garden earlier this week. A lot of things going on. So the president's talking about the fact that the market's coming back, and he's talking about the legislation that he signed and the executive order to hold China accountable for its oppressive actions against the people of Hong Kong. The Hong Kong Autonomy Act, which I signed this afternoon, passed unanimously through Congress. This law gives my administration powerful new tools to hold responsible the individuals and the entities involved in extinguishing Hong Kong's freedoms. We've all watched what happened. Not a good situation. Their freedom has been taken away. Their rights have been taken away. And with it goes Hong Kong, in my opinion, because it will no longer be able to compete with free markets. A lot of people will be leaving Hong Kong, I suspect, and we're going to do a lot more business because of it, because we just lost one competitor. That's the way it is. We lost a very serious competitor, a competitor that we incentivized to take a lot of business and do well. And we gave them a lot of business by doing what we did. We gave them things that nobody else had the right to do and gave them a big edge over other markets. And because of that, they've done really historical business, tremendous business, far bigger than anybody would have thought years ago when we did this gift. It was really a gift to freedom. So President Trump signed an executive order ending U.S. preferential treatment for Hong Kong. Hong Kong will now be treated the same as mainland China. No special privileges, no special economic treatment, and no export of sensitive technologies. In addition to that, we're placing massive tariffs and have placed very large tariffs on China. First time that has ever happened to China. Billions of dollars have been paid to the United States, of which I've given quite a bit to the farmers and ranchers for our country because they were targeted. And that's been going on there for 3 years. It's the first time anybody's ever done anything like that. And prior to the plague pouring in from China, they were having the worst year, in 67 years. And I don't want them to have a bad year. I want them to have a good year. But they were taking advantage of the United States for many, many years. And that's stopping. So this is the president talking about this, and we're going to continue because the president's describing exactly what else he has included in this executive order. It looks like we have a president who is finally slaying the dragon. No administration has been tougher on China than this administration. We imposed historic tariffs. We stood up to China's intellectual property theft at a level that nobody has ever come close. We confronted untrustworthy Chinese technology and telecom providers. We convinced many countries, and I did this myself for the most part, to not use Huawei, because we think it's an unsafe security risk. It's a big security risk. I talked many countries out of using it. If they want to do business with us, they can't use it. So he says also, I believe that UK announced that they're not going to be using it, and that was up in the air for a long time. We also withdrew from the Chinese-dominated WHO, World Health Organization, and we fully rebuilt the United States military. The WHO were paying close to 500 million a year. China was paying 39 million a year, and China had too much to say. They worked it very hard, and which is a bad thing done by our past administrations. But we are tough, and we were saying, I was asking China, I said, why are we paying so much more than China? China has 1.4 billion people. We have 325, maybe, probably 325 million approximately. Nobody can give the exact count. We're trying to get an exact count. But you have, over the years, many illegals who have come into the country, so it depends on how you want to count it. But you could say 325 to 350 million people as opposed to 1.4 billion people. And the world trade is terrible. That deal is terrible. And the World Health is a terrible deal. We've been very tough on the World Trade Organization, and I guess as tough as you can get on the World Health. We withdrew our money. We told them we're getting out. It doesn't mean that someday we won't go back in. Maybe we will when it's correctly run. But they made a lot of bad predictions, and they said a lot of bad things about what to do and how to do it. And they turned out to be wrong. And they were really a puppet for China. And make no mistake, we hold China fully responsible for concealing the virus and unleashing it upon the world. They could have stopped it. They should have stopped it. It would have been very easy to do at the source when it happened. So the president outlined, generally speaking, we also understand that this executive order also seizes the assets, the real estate assets of individuals that property that's owned by the CCP, the Chinese Communist country regime, right? And this is huge. This is President Trump slaying the dragon, folks. You have to understand how incredibly significant this is, that the president is taking these very drastic measures to get China under control, and because we have discussed on this report many times what is really happening with the Belt and Road Initiative, and what it's really doing is placing these countries that are engaging in it into indentured servitude to China. And of course, China gets to take over the ports or the bridges. They get to put tolls on it. They get to use only their workers. They get to operate it only with their workers. So China is little by little by little invading these other countries. I mean, this is total imperialism. And of course, Chinese, they're very patient people, right? In some ways, they're very, very patient. They'll wait 100 years to conquer a city, won't they? And that's how they do it. So he says here, in contrast, Joe Biden's entire career has been a gift to the Chinese Communist Party and to the calamity of errors that they've made. They've made so many errors, and it's been devastating for the American worker. China has taken out hundreds of billions of dollars a year from our country, and we rebuilt China. I give them all the credit in the world. I don't give the credit for the people that used to stand here, because they allowed this to happen, where hundreds of billions of dollars were taken out of the United States Treasury in order to rebuild China. There's no company and no country in the world has ever ripped off the United States like the incredible job that they did on this country and the people that ran it. Possibly it's one of the reasons, certainly it's one of the very big reasons, trade and things related to trade, that I got elected in the first place, according to President Trump. I've been talking about it for a long time with many other subjects, frankly. Joe Biden supported China's entry into the World Trade Organization and one of the greatest geopolitical and economic disasters in world history. If you look at China, if you look at the moment they joined the World Trade, they were flatlining for years, and decades. And then all of a sudden they joined the World Trade Organization, and they went like a rocket ship. They were all given they were given all sorts of advantages. They were considered a developing country. As a developing country, they got tremendous advantages over the United States and other countries, and they took advantage of those advantages and then some. Biden personally led the effort to give China permanent most favored nation status, which is a tremendous advantage for a country to have. Few countries have it. Folks, I don't want to read the whole transcript, but I'll tell you this was what the president said in the Rose Garden. And I just wanted to highlight a few of those important points that the president was making. He also says America lost nearly 10,000 factories while Joe Biden was vice president. Think of that, 10,000 factories. He wrote something today and made a statement today that I wrote down. It's pretty accurate. So Biden was here for 47 years in Congress. 8 years, the last 8 years, not long ago, was vice president. He said 1 in 5 miles of our highway are still in poor condition. Well, we're doing a good job in highways, but why didn't he fix them 3 years ago? Why didn't he fix them? Tens of thousands of bridges are in disrepair and on the verge of collapse. Well, it's probably not a right number, but we have bridges that should have been fixed. Why didn't he fix them? He was there for 8 years with President Obama. Why didn't they fix them? Tens of thousands of bridges. This is what he wrote. High-speed broadband. We want high speed. Well, why didn't he get it 3 years ago? It's not that long a period of time. Joe Biden and President Obama freely allowed China to pillage our factories, plunder our communities, and steal our most precious secrets. And I've stopped it largely, and it wasn't easy, because you talk about certain power of the telephone and the calls, where they would call and say, no, we don't want to do that, and other countries would call on behalf of China. But I did it. I did what had to be done. And you just take a look at what's going on, and take a look at the numbers where they devalued their currency in order to pay the tariffs. That's another big topic that we have reported on here on the GoldFish Report many times, regarding the currency manipulation to avoid the tariffs, to devalue their currency. And that's why, the currencies that's why there's a global currency reset going on, so that there's a stable fixed rate for currencies, and nobody can manipulate the currencies any longer to give them an unfair position in global trade. So this is the transcript from the president's news conference. You can go back and take a look at it. We're going to talk more about it. So let me just scroll down so we can get to a little bit more. See how long this is? I couldn't possibly read this whole transcript. Okay, here we go. This is the executive order. Is this? No. Which one is this? This is International Emergency Economics Powers Act, the National Emergency Act. So this is an executive. Yeah, this is regarding preferential treatment for Hong Kong. So this is the executive order, and this is talking about. This order directs the heads of executive departments and agencies to commence all appropriate actions to carry out the policy of the United States to suspend or eliminate different and preferential treatment for Hong Kong. Okay. Okay, just had to make a note. Let's continue. Hold on just a second. I have to send a message. Okay. Okay. Let me go back. I can see that we're still screen sharing. Hold on. Whoops. Where'd we go? I lost my screen share. Hold on, folks. While I do that, let me check in and say hello to everybody. Yes. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Thank you. Yeah, if you like what you're hearing, if you like the report, please give a thumbs up. That does help get the channel recommended in people's feeds. So that would be helpful. And God knows we mean it. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. The unconfirmed reports were about the president. It was not. I don't know. I don't want to get into weird things. Okay. I just think that there's just pray for the president and the first lady. There's unconfirmed reports that there's nefarious plans against the president and the first lady. So I'm just asking everybody to pray for the president, the first lady, and the families. Okay. Sorry about that. Yes, Celtic Warrior, I appreciate you. Or who was that? No, Karen Fines. You're the one who had brought to my attention. I didn't finish that comment because I wasn't really quite sure. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to describe this, and I don't want to digress too much from what we're reporting about today. So yeah. All right. So let me go back and screen share this executive order. Let's see. Are we screen sharing yet? No. Okay. The order blocks the property and interests and property of foreign persons determined by the Secretary of State in consultation with the Secretary of Treasury, or the Secretary of Treasury in consultation with the Secretary of State. Sounds like such bureaucratic red tape. Okay. Okay. The order directs the head of the executive departments and agencies to commence all appropriate actions to carry out the policy of the United States to suspend or eliminate different and preferential treatment for Hong Kong to the extent permitted by law and in the national security, foreign policy, and economic interests of the United States. This is because the president has to keep it consistent. If China thinks they're going to get some unfair advantage in trade via Hong Kong, then then they need to think again. That's why the president had no choice but to do this, because if they're going to take the rights of the people away, and there is a treaty, by the way, with the UK, which doesn't go into effect until 2046, where they transition back to mainland China. But China's decided to do it now in violation of this treaty, and don't have the details on that right now. And I don't want to digress too much, because that's the basis of the discrepancy and the dispute, and why there's protests going on in Hong Kong now. And a lot of people are going to be, whether they have dual citizenship with the UK or not, I think there will be a lot of people making an exodus out of Hong Kong because they see the writing on the wall. And as a result of that as well, so does the president. And so this is why he has taken this action for the executive order. It says to be or have been involved in, directly or indirectly, in the coercing, arresting, detaining, or imprisoning of individuals under the authority of, or to be or have been responsible for, involved in developing, adopting, or implementing the law of the People's Republic of China on safeguarding national security in the Hong Kong administrative region. To be responsible for or complicit in, or to have engaged in, directly or indirectly, any of the following: actions or policies that undermine democratic process or institutions in Hong Kong; actions or policies that threaten the peace, security, stability, or autonomy of Hong Kong; censorship or other activities with respect to Hong Kong that prohibit, limit, or penalize the exercise of freedom or expression or assembly by citizens of Hong Kong, or that limit access to free and independent print, online, or broadcast media; or the extrajudicial rendition, arbitrary detention, or torture of any person in Hong Kong, or other gross violations of internationally recognized human rights or serious human rights abuse in Hong Kong. To be or have been a leader of or official of an entity, including any government entity that has engaged in or whose members have engaged in any of the activities described above, or an entity whose property and interests in property are blocked pursuant to this order. To have materially assisted, sponsored, or provided financial, material, or technological support for, or goods or services to, or in support of any person whose property and interests in property are blocked pursuant to this section. To be owned or controlled by, or to have an act of purported to act for or on behalf of, directly or indirectly, any person whose property and interests in property are blocked pursuant to this section; and also to be a member of the board of directors or senior executive offices of any person whose property and interests in property are blocked pursuant to this section. So this is telling you, if you're involved in, if you're going to interfere in some way with the blocking of this action on the real estate and property of persons who are blocked pursuant to this executive order, then it's saying here, then the order also delegates the Secretary of Treasury, in consultation with the Secretary of State, the authority to take such actions, including adopting rules and regulations, and to employ all powers granted to the President by IEEPA as may be necessary to implement the order, which is the immigration. I don't know what that is, actually. I don't know what the acronym is on that. I'll look it up. Okay, so under the Immigration and Nationality Act, the order also suspends the unrestricted immigrant and non-immigrant entry into the United States of aliens determined to meet one or more of the criteria above for the blocking of property and interests in property and their immediate family members, as well as aliens determined by the Secretary of State to be employed by or acting as an agent of such aliens determined to meet the criteria. So this is it. This is serious, folks. This is the president slaying the dragon. This is it. President Trump is very serious. And here it is. Here's the executive order, the president's executive order on Hong Kong normalization. And here you have it. So it says, as I said, the special administrative region, the president has determined, pursuant to the Section 202 of the United States Hong Kong Policy Act of 1992, that the special administrative region of Hong Kong is no longer sufficiently autonomous to justify differential treatment in relation to the People's Republic of China. Under the particular United States laws and provisions thereof set out in this order. In late May 2020, the National People's Congress of China announced its intention to unilaterally and arbitrarily impose national security legislation on Hong Kong. This announcement was merely China's latest salvo in a series of actions that have increasingly denied autonomy and freedoms that China promised to the people of Hong Kong under the 1984 Joint Declaration of the Government of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland and the Government of the People's Republic of China on the question of Hong Kong Joint Declaration. So here it is. That's the treaty that I was referring to. It says here, as a result, on May 27th, 2020, the Secretary of State announced that the PRC had fundamentally undermined Hong Kong's autonomy and certified and reported to the Congress, pursuant to Sections 205 and 301 of the United States Hong Kong Policy Act of 1992, as amended, respectively, that Hong Kong no longer warrants treatment under United States law in the same manner as United States laws were applied to Hong Kong before July 1st, 1997. So here it says, on May 29th, 2020, I directed the heads of the executive departments and agencies to begin the process of eliminating policy exemptions under the United States law that give Hong Kong differential treatment in relation to China. China has since followed through on its threat to impose national security legislation on Hong Kong. Under this law, the people of Hong Kong may face life in prison for what China considers to be acts of secession or subversion or state power, which may include acts like last year's widespread anti-government protests. The right to trial by jury may be suspended. Proceedings may be conducted in secret. China has given itself broad power to initiate and control the prosecutions of people of Hong Kong throughout the new Office for Safeguarding National Security. At the same time, the law allows foreigners to be expelled if China merely suspects them of violating the law, potentially making it harder for journalists, human rights organizations, and other outside groups to hold the PRC accountable for its treatment of the people of Hong Kong. And that would be the People's Republic of China, the PRC. I therefore determine that the situation with respect to Hong Kong, including recent actions taken by the PRC to fundamentally undermine Hong Kong's autonomy, constitutes an unusual and extraordinary threat, which has its source in substantial part outside the United States, to the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States. So I hereby declare a national emergency with respect to that threat. Okay, so here's the national order. I'm sorry, the executive order, and you can go to the goldfishreport.blogspot.com and look at this in much more detail. This is a big deal, as I said, and I will repeat, this is POTUS slaying the dragon. So I'm curious to see what your comments are on that. Anybody in the live chat have any comments on this and on the president's action with China? I'm going to scroll forward through another transcript, because otherwise it would take forever to get through everything. I'm taking a little sip of some caffeinated beverage. So here we go. The big deal the president is talking about here is modernizing federal environmental reviews to accelerate America's infrastructure development. Okay. President Donald Trump is modernizing federal environmental reviews to accelerate America's infrastructure development. By streamlining infrastructure approvals will further expand America's unprecedented economic boom, according to President Trump. Modernizing environmental reviews for the first time in 40 years, Trump is taking the right action to right-size the federal government's environmental review process. The Trump administration is issuing a final rule that will modernize and accelerate this process so infrastructure can be built in a timely, efficient, and affordable manner. This marks the end of a multi-year review, which produced more than 1.1 million public comments and involved a broad range of stakeholders. The final rule modernizes federal NEPA regulations, including by codifying certain court decisions to clarify NEPA's application and by expanding public involvement in NEPA, National Environmental Policy Act. That's what that represents. Reviews through the use of modern technology. The rule also improves management by incorporating President Trump's one federal decision policy, establishing time limits of 2 years for completion of environmental impact statements when required, and 1 year for completion of environmental assessments. Together, these common sense reforms will slash unnecessary government bureaucracy and accelerate important infrastructure projects all across the nation. Oh, and we need it too. We certainly don't want to find out a bridge needs repair when after it's already fallen down. So, I did see one of our viewers sent us a video of water leaking into the Lincoln Tunnel. Hello, what was that all about? Hello, talk about it. That Lincoln Tunnel's been there a long time. And I drove through it many, many, many times. And I was like, gee, I really hope the water doesn't come leaking through here. And looking at that video, if I can find it, I'll screen share it, was definitely a scary thing to watch, because you don't want to see water leaking in a tunnel. And that was quite noticeable. We need this infrastructure bill big time. So here we have it. The federal environmental review process has historically been far too complex, costly, and time-consuming. Since NEPA's enactment, the environmental review process has been burdensome for both federal agencies conducting reviews and Americans seeking permits or approvals. Environmental impact statements average over 650 pages, and it takes federal agencies on average 4.5 years to conduct required reviews. According to the Council on Environmental Quality, environmental impact statements for highway projects take more than 7 years on average and often take a decade or more. According to the NEPA reviews are also frequently challenged in court, making it very challenging for businesses and communities to plan, finance, and build projects in the United States. You see, folks, this is President Trump's alternative. This is his answer to the Belt and Road. We don't need to borrow money from China to come and do this. We need to do this ourselves. We need to remove the red tape that has prohibited us and put us in dire disrepair, putting our infrastructure in disrepair. And the president is removing those regulations, as he has talked about in his press conferences, so that we can get the studies done, get the impact statements done, and get the work done. So I am going to, I think I will be able to find that video in just a minute. He's talking about cutting red tape, which is what we were just talking about. President Trump is reversing years of burdensome over-regulation and administrative abuse, simultaneously ensuring meaningful environmental reviews and spurring economic growth. As I just said, it's almost as if the previous administrations, folks, were there to deliberately cause destruction in our infrastructure projects, import steel from China, which in other regions, which you knew were not going to meet the standards of what we were making in the United States. One of the first things the president did when he was, after he was elected, was bring back the steel industry and make the steel here. So I can tell you that what the president is doing is the antidote to what the past administrations have tirelessly worked to destroy and to complicate, to overcomplicate, unnecessarily overcomplicate regulation so that they couldn't get these projects done, that the red tape was so cumbersome that it was, prohibitive, either cost prohibitive, time prohibitive, and in the meantime, more and more and more and more of our infrastructure deteriorated, and the work and the repairs didn't get done. This president knows what he's doing, especially when it comes to infrastructure projects. As you know, President Trump is a real estate developer, and if anybody knows about infrastructure and development, you know that it's President Trump. We just have the right man in the office for this. There's no question about it. Putting politics aside, is it possible? Is it possible to put politics aside when talking about actual issues that need to be addressed in the country, like infrastructure investment and refurbishment of our bridges, roads, and tunnels, etc.? What shouldn't be a political issue is, just in my opinion, abortion. That's not something that should be a political issue, but it is, and there's nothing I can do about that. So Trump is making good on his promise to conduct historic deregulation, removing job-killing regulations, and have stifled economic growth for far too long. Already, the president has reversed burdensome regulations like the Obama administration's Waters of the United States rule and corporate average fuel economy standards, known as the CAFE standards. President Trump also did away with Obama administration's expensive, heavy-handed, and job-killing Clean Power Plan, replacing it with the much improved Affordable Clean Energy Rule, the ACE rule. The president launched his governor's initiative on regulatory innovation to cut outdated regulations, put people over paperwork, and align federal and state regulations. Under President Trump, the United States has remained a world leader in protecting the environment and reducing greenhouse gas emissions, while becoming the largest producer of oil and natural gas in the world. I will continue with this, but I'm going to check in with the live chat to see how everybody's doing in the live chat, and if anybody has. Yes, of course it's way overdue. The infrastructure is way overdue. In fact, I'm going to look right now. I know that I have, and I know who sent it to me, my dear. She is in the live chat tonight. Let me see if I can find it really quick, because, yeah, thank you, Sherry, dear, for sending me this, this video, which I'm going to hopefully share with everybody. I'm going to screen share this. This was actually reported on News 4, NBC. Can you believe it? Actually reported some truth. That is a little bit hard to believe. There's an ad going. All right, so we're going to have to wait for the ad to go. But you have to see this and understand how significant and how, you know, incredibly neglected our infrastructure has been. That I'm going to tell you, I mean, I'm certainly not going to be driving into the city. I used to drive in. I went to school there. I used to work there. And it's definitely not a sight I want to see. I'll be honest. It certainly isn't. Okay, here we go. The little girl with Ellen is her niece. Are you sure? How do you know that? So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't saying she wasn't her niece. I just said, who is she? I don't know who she is. Let's take a look at this, folks. No, that's the wrong screen. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. Take a look.
That's concerning. I'm inside the Lincoln Tunnel, which is underwater. Pretty sure there's a movie about this.
Now I'm going to play it again. Yeah.
And everybody dies.
And everybody dies. Oh my God. So, actually I wanted to play it again. Can I play it again? Let me see. I tried to. No. Oh, that's... Okay, sorry about that. Well, you got to see it though, right? You got to see that. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing to see, folks, is it? To see water pouring into the Lincoln Tunnel like that? That's really concerning. I mean, I've lived in the New York tri-state area my whole life, and it was dry as a bone in that tunnel. That was really, really scary to see. The question is, you know, how far gone is it? Is it too late? Okay, great, Jan, thanks. That's her niece. Wonderful. That's good. I'm not sure what all the pizza, signs were there for. Whatever, if that's her niece, that's wonderful. Okay, let's keep moving along. It's okay. Even if you Google it, how would you know if that's her niece just because mainstream media reports it? I don't know, folks. I don't know. We can really. Okay, let's keep moving along. In terms of Ellen, Ellen's not innocent. Let's just put it. Let's just leave it there. Okay. Okay. 1600 Daily, the White House. President Trump speaks in Georgia. About 90 years ago, builders put up the Empire State Building in just 13 months. Today, even the simplest construction projects could drag on for years, if not decades. This afternoon, President Trump is in Atlanta to discuss, this was on the 15th, to discuss his new update to the National Environmental Policy Act. This action marks the first time the NEPA, we'll just call it, will be comprehensively reformed in more than 40 years. The NEPA update will shorten average environmental review time from an unacceptable 4.5 years to just 2 years, ensuring that safe, modern, and resilient infrastructure can be built in record time while continuing to protect America's environmental heritage. Let's see if there's a clip on here that we can that I can screen share about this. No, this is actually the whole news conference, so I won't be screen sharing that. That is the whole one, the entire one. Okay. So I guess if I Google something, then it must be true, right? Is that what you're saying? If I Google something and it comes up, it must be true. Okay. Well, I have to say though, thanks for letting me know. President Trump, China took hundreds of billions a year from America. President Trump signed both the Hong Kong Autonomy Act and a related executive order last night, which will hold China and others accountable for their efforts to stifle the freedom and safety of the people of Hong Kong. We've all watched what happened. Not a good situation, President Trump said during a press conference from the White House Rose Garden. As we reported before, their freedom has been taken away, their rights have been taken away, and with it goes Hong Kong. China has violated its long-standing obligations on the issue, reversing Hong Kong's status as a free society and endangering its innocent residents. These actions are blatant violation of China's promise to Great Britain that it would keep Hong Kong free and open until the year 2047, as I reported earlier in this report. Let me see if this is yeah, okay, I can screen share this one. Let's listen to what the president says about this.
Today I signed legislation and an executive order to hold China accountable for its oppressive actions against the people of Hong Kong. The Hong Kong Autonomy Act, which I signed this afternoon, passed unanimously through Congress. This law gives my administration powerful new tools to hold responsible the individuals and the entities involved in extinguishing Hong Kong's freedom. We've all watched what happened. Not a good situation. Their freedom's been taken away, their rights have been taken away, and with it goes Hong Kong, in my opinion, because it will no longer be able to compete with free markets. Today I signed legislation.
Okay, so that's the president's own words there regarding Hong Kong, and yeah. Okay, you just had to deal with something there. Right. That may be according to Google, right? That could be a setup. That could be planted there. I mean, who knows? Like, you can't just, you just can't, trust Google. I don't know. It kind of sounds funny to say trust Google, right? It's kind of hard to believe that we. Okay, let's move along though. Let's just move along. We always, even if it's on Google, we have to really verify our sources too. All I was doing was asking who the child was. I don't know who the child is. And I don't think a lot of people know who the child is. I'm just saying. Okay. American lives and livelihoods are at risk as well. 1,300 American businesses and 85,000 American citizens currently reside in Hong Kong. Last night's actions give the president and his administration powerful new tools to hold responsible any individuals and entities involved in extinguishing Hong Kong's freedom. The executive order, for example, ends U.S. preferential treatment for Hong Kong until the Chinese Communist Party takes appropriate corrective steps. No administration has been tougher on China than this administration, President Trump said. He's right. From day one, these important actions have included placing hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs on Chinese goods to confront unfair trade practices, launching a Section 301 investigation into China's intellectual property abuses, protecting U.S. national security by placing tariffs on steel from abroad, stopping federal retirement investment in problematic Chinese companies, and halting U.S. funding to the World Health Organization in response to its dangerous bias towards China on the coronavirus. China has taken out hundreds of billions of dollars a year from our country, President Trump said, and we rebuilt China. I give them all the credit in the world. I don't give the credit for the people that used to stand here at the White House because they allowed this to happen. And here's a photo of the president signing that executive order and that bill into law here. I'm sorry. Just got distracted for a minute. Okay, let's keep moving along. So here's the president talking about, these are some comments before he boarded Marine One. This was about Jeff Sessions' loss in Alabama, and he said he's very happy that Tommy Tuberville won the race. He thinks he's going to be a great senator. But I think we kind of knew what this outcome was going to be. So I think many people suspected that this was to make sure that someone ran against the person they really wanted actually ended up winning. So let's just put it to you that way. Also a tremendous win for Ronnie Jackson, and it looks like it could be a tremendous win for a gentleman named Gonzalez. So he was happy about that election, how those results came. The president talked also a little bit about, let me see, oh yeah, very short here so I can talk about this a little bit more. He says, the question one of the poolers had was, Mr. President, you declared MS-13 as a terrorist organization this morning. Are you going to plan to do the same thing with Antifa and leftist organizations that you say cause trouble? And the president said it could happen. It could happen. Antifa is no good. They're bad. They're bad people, and it could very well happen. Another question to the president was, why do you want coronavirus data going to Health and Human Services first instead of the CDC? Why make that change? And the president said, didn't change for me. I looked, they're all on the same team. We're all on the same team, including Dr. Fauci. I have a very good relationship with Dr. Fauci, and we're all on the same team. We want to get rid of this mess that China sent us. So everybody is working on the same line, and we're doing very well. We're doing very well in a lot of ways, and our country is coming back very strong. Okay, so basically, also, there was a question about Peter Navarro going rogue, and the president said, well, he made a statement representing himself. He shouldn't be doing that. And no, I have a very good relationship with Anthony Fauci he's talking about. So the president kept everything, as a politician should, cordial, right? So he's learning to be a good politician. He's diplomatic and tactful, extremely diplomatic and tactful. And at times he's not diplomatic, because that also communicates a certain conviction to the American people. I mean, we want it to be real. We don't want the president to always be scripted. The president, and we know that a lot of times he's not. He's very he's a good orator. He can communicate and express himself very well. And I think he learned a lot from Roger Ailes, because he understands that he is the message. Roger Ailes wrote a book called You Are the Message. And anybody who goes in the public and talks in a public forum should absolutely read that book. And even if you don't, you should read it, because then you really understand how you come across to other people. Okay. So it was a good book. And actually, President Trump has made comments about how he liked Fox News much better before when Roger Ailes was there at the helm. But, that's the past. Okay, so let's keep moving along. This is another press conference. Please come to the goldfishreport.blogspot.com and check out the entire transcript there. I'm not going to go through that one. This is a readout of the First Lady Melania Trump's visit to Engine Company 9 Fire Station. The First Lady made an unannounced visit to Engine Company 9 Fire Station in Washington, D.C. to deliver a donation of boxed lunches prepared by the White House chefs, Be Best tote bags, reusable face masks, and hand sanitizers. The First Lady met with firefighters and emergency medical service personnel from Engine Company 9 and policemen and women from the neighboring D.C. Metropolitan Police Department 3rd District. Engine Company 9 and 4th Battalion, which includes Ward 1, is an emergency response and life-saving fire station that works to promote health and safety in the nation's capital. The D.C. Metropolitan Police Department 3rd District serves the historic U Street corridor area and is highly visited commercial and residential section of the capital, well known for its ethnic and cultural diversity. The 3rd District aims to protect and serve and works hard to build a safer and stronger connection between neighbors, police, and the community. During the unannounced visit, the First Lady handed out boxed lunches and spent the time engaging in conversation about daily work life, challenges that they face during the COVID-19 pandemic, and the strength and resiliency of their communities. And her comments were, the First Lady said, "I appreciated today's opportunity to give my thanks to some of DC's bravest and finest. The President and I will continue to support our dedicated firefighters, police members, EMS personnel, and other critical first responders who put their lives at risk each day in order to keep our neighborhoods safe. We are grateful for their teamwork, professionalism, and courage, and the vital role they play in communities throughout the country." So I'd love to see the First Lady getting involved in some of the president's, having her presence and having her gentle, I would say, support behind the topics that are near and dear to her heart. So that's really wonderful. Here's another press conference. This one was regarding rollback regulations to help all Americans, which we've talked about already. Basically, the president was rolling back job-killing regulations. He said before he came into office, American workers were smothered by a merciless avalanche of wasteful and expensive and intrusive federal regulation. These oppressive and burdensome mandates were the stealth tax on our people, slashing take-home pay and suppressing innovation, surging the cost of goods and shipping millions of American jobs overseas. Millions and millions and millions. It never ended. Nearly 4 years ago, we ended this regulatory assault on the American worker, and we launched the most dramatic regulatory relief campaign in American history by far. No other administration has done anywhere near what this administration has done. So there's more information here, folks, that you want to read about. It's a little bit more detail. It's nice to hear "Made in the USA" again. The president was talking about some of these regulatory reforms are in the energy sector. They're creating jobs there, reducing costs for communities, and put trucks to work. Streamline permitting and creating an environment that allows for efficient construction and infrastructure repair and development has the same effect. As a result of these regulatory reforms, our industry has seen record sales of heavy-duty trucks, which have been a boon to dealerships like ours. So there was someone there talking about, who was this? Oh, Cambria Truck Center in New Jersey. There you have it. So there's more comments about this deregulation and, just getting those chains and bound and made it bound our policy and our companies and manufacturers from being able to continue to compete in the market here previously. And now we have deregulation, which allows companies to come back and It says this amounts to $50 billion in regulation cost savings, according to Kayleigh McEnany, who we love. We just love her. She's doing such a phenomenal job. It's really like she was a little guardian angel sent from heaven to help out the president. Not to say that Sarah Sanders wasn't. Sarah was wonderful. She was such she was like a superhero. She was just up there with the hammer of Thor, it seems like. But Kayleigh, she's got like laser beams. She's like, she owns that press room now. And I'm so grateful for her, because the president definitely needs a really great, articulate, and competent press secretary. And she's doing such a phenomenal job. I'm going to keep scrolling through. Oh, I don't think I'm screen sharing. Sorry. Yeah, because I didn't want to screen share. I didn't want to screen share when I actually scroll. Sorry, everybody. I wasn't screen sharing at this. Thank you, Dora. I appreciate it. And I'm just checking in with everybody in our live chat. I just want to see how everybody's doing. For some reason, my chair keeps scooting down. All right, let's try to wrap this up. Oh my God, it's an hour already. Oh my God. But I'm telling you, I wasn't here on Wednesday, so it does get busy. The president's a very busy man. He's accomplishing a lot for our country, and we're so very, very, very grateful that he is our president today. We've done 180, haven't missed 1 week. Not once. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I would never do it. I never missed 1 week's worth of reporting on our president. Not one. No matter where I went, no matter where I was in my travels, I always stopped to do a POTUS report. And until I decide I'm not going to do them anymore, because when I stop, it'll be over, right? But there's no reason to miss it. This president, we needed to hold his feet to the fire. We needed to make sure he was draining the swamp. And is he? He certainly is. And we're so very lucky to have him as our president right now, and we need to pray for his safety, because we are up against a very formidable, dark foe who wants to take down this country. And we're very grateful to have such a patriotic president, somebody who truly loves America and wants the best for us. This isn't about him. He's already got what he needs. He can't be bought off. He can't be bribed. It's not important to him. What's important to him is that this country has the opportunity to be its best, isn't it? Isn't that so beautiful how I worked that in there? Because that is Melania's whole program that she has, Be Best. And I really believe that's why the two of them make such a beautiful couple, because the president wants us to be our best. He wants Americans to be our best, and he wants the country to be our best that we can. I'm telling you, that really was, that's exactly what it is. So this historic regulatory reform, the president has led a historic effort to eliminate unnecessary and costly regulations. Under President Trump's leadership, federal agencies have taken more than 7 deregulatory actions for every significant regulatory action. President Trump's deregulation efforts have already reduced regulatory costs by $50 billion and are on track to reduce regulatory costs by at least that much in fiscal year 2020 alone. The president's governor's initiative on regulatory innovation is working to reduce outdated regulations, advance occupational licensing reform, and align federal and state regulations. The administration continues to take action to modernize and accelerate environmental reviews in order to complete infrastructure projects in a timely and efficient manner. The president is rolling back regulations that harm American workers. Harm American workers. Sorry, got distracted. They better stop. I'm sorry. My kids are distracting me with water guns or Nerf guns and water guns. Okay, so let's move along. The administration continues to take action to modernize and accelerate environmental reviews in order to complete infrastructure projects in a timely and efficient manner. The president is rolling back regulations that harm American workers, including providing relief to farmers by repealing the burdensome Obama-era Waters of the United States rule. In 2019, the president signed 2 executive orders to increase transparency in federal agencies and protect Americans and their small businesses from administrative abuse. And look at this, lifting up Americans. President Trump is driving down costs for consumers and helping low-income Americans who are disproportionately burdened by overregulation. Deregulation is lowering costs for all Americans, particularly benefiting low-income individuals who are disproportionately burdened by overregulation. The administration cut red tape in the healthcare industry, providing Americans with more affordable healthcare and saving Americans nearly 10% on prescription drugs. Deregulation of both prescription drugs and internet access helped the poorest fifth of households 8 times more than the wealthiest fifth of Americans. The administration replaced costly Obama-era fuel standards with the safer, affordable, fuel-efficient, safe vehicle rule, making cars more affordable for low-income families or low-income Americans. This rule is expected to lower the price of new vehicles by $2,200, according to the Council of Economic Advisors. I think that would be Larry Kudlow. The president established a council to reduce regulatory barriers to affordable housing. Yeah, right? We all need to live here. We definitely need to address affordable housing issues. Absolutely. Supporting families and businesses, the administration's historic deregulatory efforts are putting money in Americans' pockets and helping businesses prosper. The president's deregulatory actions will increase household income annually by at least $3,100 in the coming years. President Trump has signed 16 pieces of deregulatory legislation that are expected to result in a $40 billion increase in annual real incomes. Once fully in effect, 20 major deregulatory actions undertaken by the administration are expected to save American consumers and businesses over $220 billion per year. The implementation of the safe vehicle rules is estimated to increase the real incomes by Americans by $53 billion per year over the 2021 to 2029 period. Deregulation is helping small businesses invest and expand by saving them from dedicating time and money on compliance costs. The president's deregulatory actions are also increasing the competition, productivity, and wages of American workers. This is how much overregulation costs your family each year. For years, the swamp has interfered in the lives of private American citizens by piling regulations on nearly every form of economic activity. This expert rule from Washington has created thousands of well-paying jobs for bureaucrats while costing everyone else time, money, and for many, their careers. So this has to do with what we've been talking about here. So what does this mean? According to the Council of Economic Advisors, President Trump's deregulation program is projected to boost household incomes by, as we said, $3,100 annually in the coming years. Most important, these rollbacks on everyday items will help blue-collar and middle-class Americans significantly more than the richest citizens of our country. Overregulation falls disproportionately on the shoulders of lower-income families who spend a larger share of their incomes on heavily regulated goods and services. Those purchases include transportation, food, and health care. Such government burdens also cost American jobs by causing workers to be replaced with lower-cost machines. So here is, of course, Larry Kudlow. This is a clip of him talking about this.
President Trump's deregulation policies have liberated it, unlocked it, creating jobs, roads, highways, better automobiles, hospitals, equipment, you name it. For every new regulation under President Trump, 8 were abolished, 25,000 Federal Register pages. For ordinary folks, people making less than $45,000 a year, actually people at the bottom of the income ladder making $25,000, they were the biggest beneficiary of deregulations. 15% reduction in costs, fossil fuels, fracking, cheap electricity, cheap natural gas, all that increases wages and take-home pay and makes family life easier and helps small businesses. This is a crane. It builds. President Trump is a builder of the economy. Not even the pandemic is going to stop this. You see this
There you
crane,
have it.
folks?
There you have it. So there's Larry Kudlow talking about that as well. Let me check in with the live chat. Hi, everybody. How are you doing? That's nice, Slim Frank. He's got an interesting hypothesis there, or theory. He says engine company 9 equals EC9 and equals 5 plus 3 plus 9 equals 17, which equals Q. Just saying. Thanks, Slim. Excellent observation. Excellent observation. Okay, so let's keep going on. We're almost done. Let's wrap this up. Let's see where we're going to wrap this up. Okay, let's play this clip here too. I like this clip. Let's play this.
Hey everyone, this is Brooke Rollins, President Donald Trump's domestic policy chief, along with
Scott Turner, Executive Director of the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council.
And we are here on the colonnade at the White House getting ready for a big event later this afternoon with President Trump, Vice President Pence, some of our governors, some of our great American business owners. We're going to be right over there on the South Lawn talking about this president's relentless and unmitigated effort to roll back regulations, to return power to the people, and ultimately to lift all Americans up for a real shot at the American dream.
You know, Brooke, just like with the Opportunity Zone initiative, President Trump has fought for the most vulnerable Americans in our country, inside of the most desperate, distressed communities. And so this is just a continuation of fighting for those in our country that need to be lifted up and who have a great skill sets, but just need a port of entry. And so deregulations and taking that unnecessary burden off of all Americans is what President Trump has been about since the day he got here, and will continue to lift up Americans by letting entrepreneurship and economic development and business flow freely.
That's right.
Wonderful. And you know, President Trump is so busy having to undo everything that Trader 44 did in his 8 years that, but he's doing it because it wasn't good for America. The policies, as the president talked about, were basically, allowing China to get away with paying no tariffs on trade, and yet we were, being subjected to tariffs. So, in addition to many other things, it's just that this president understands, and economics. He understands the art of the deal. He understands also that there's forces that wish to see the United States crumble, and President Trump is not going to let that happen. So let's keep going and see what else we have here. I'm going to pretty much wrap it up now, folks, with our photos of the week, which is our favorite, one of the favorite parts of our POTUS report. Here is the president and the vice president walking along the cross hall of the White House to the East Room to participate in the roundtable with the stakeholders impacted by law enforcement. So that was a little bit earlier in the week. We reported on that last week, but here's some photos: red, white, and the blue. President Donald Trump and guests listen as Vice President Mike Pence delivers remarks during a roundtable with stakeholders positively impacted by law enforcement. Folks, there's no question that we see hero cops every single day out there saving lives of people. When there's a baby that's sick or choking, there's been videos posted. The policemen know just what to do to save that baby's life and to do what they can. These are men that jump into the spring into action to defend you. Should you need that defending, should somebody be there to cause harm to you or your family, they put themselves in harm's way to protect us. So I'm glad to see that the president had done this roundtable, and this again is more pictures with this roundtable of people who have been positively impacted by our law enforcement. Defunding the police is a dumb idea. You have to be dumb as a box of rocks to want to defund the police. Honestly, I think there isn't anybody who has a sane mind Who would disagree? President Trump joined by Vice President Pence. Still more pictures here. We have Vice President Pence and members of the White House Coronavirus Task Force participate in a video teleconference with governors to discuss their partnership on the COVID-19 response and recovery. God, it's like, let's wrap this up already, folks. Let's wrap it up. President Trump is joined by Secretary Stephen Mnuchin, and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and they signs the unanimously approved H.R. 7440, the Hong Kong Autonomy Act, Tuesday, July 14th, 2020, in the Oval Office. There you have it. There's the president walking along the colonnade of the White House, right outside as he departed the Oval Office, en route to the Rose Garden press conference. There you have the president. Never stops working for us, folks. Never stops working for us. Doesn't take a paycheck. Never once took a paycheck. If you don't understand, I think the problem that we have here, and I'm going to get into this in a minute, is most people do not recognize the peril our nation faces. I'm sorry, it's getting a little bit late. The peril that our nation is in right now, the peril that we are facing together and as a country, people really don't understand it. And why is that? Because the mainstream media is not going to report it. But I'll get into that in a minute. We have more pictures of the social distancing at the White House here. Interesting. I really, had hoped that we would raise more funds to get back to the White House, but unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. For whatever reason, people want to get, they want to find out about the president through mainstream media, and they're not going to tell you the truth that we're telling you here on the GoldFish Report. They're not going to give you this detail. They're not going to tell you in exhaustive ways how much this president has been doing every week to help America, to help you and me, and to restore our country. But the GoldFish Report is there to tell you that, whether we're there physically in person or we're not. We're here in an office. We're still bringing to you our POTUS reports every week. So if you do want to help support the GoldFish Report, you can go to our website at thegoldfishreport.com, and you can make a contribution there, or you can make a commitment to helping and supporting the GoldFish Report by becoming a Patreon. And that link is on thegoldfishreport.com as well. Also, these links are in the description section of each of our videos. So here is the president taking questions from reporters during this press conference in the Rose Garden. Here we have also the vice president making remarks to the Emergency Operations Center in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We have more pictures from the vice president's trip there. I'm going to go through this quickly because you can go to the blog here and you can check them out and look at them in more detail as long as you'd like. This is interesting. Here is of course, the president with the with the Attorney General William Barr, participates in the briefing from law enforcement officials on keeping American communities safe as the takedown of key MS-13 criminal leaders in the Oval Office, as they take down the key MS-13 leaders. So this was on Wednesday, the 15th of July. And here's some more photos from that event right there. You also have the president talking to members of the press on the south lawn of the White House prior to boarding Marine One, which we reported already what was said and discussed. And here's photos of the president flying off, which is a really, really, really wonderful photo of Marine One lifting off right outside the Rose Garden there, which it does. That's where it lands, right outside the Rose Garden on the opposite side of it. Marine One with President Trump, exactly. Here we have the president delivering remarks at rebuilding of America's infrastructure, faster, better, stronger event in Hapeville Airport Hub in Atlanta. UPS Hapeville Airport. I might be mispronouncing that. Hapeville. I don't know. I haven't been there. I don't know how it's pronounced. Here you have President Trump giving a thumbs up during a rebuilding of America's infrastructure event, the same event. Nice thumbs up. And Who do we have? We have a small business owner, Atlanta small business owner Janelle King delivers remarks during the rebuilding event there as well, rebuilding of America's infrastructure there as well. We have the president as he boards and waves to everybody before he boards Air Force One in Atlanta there. It's our POTUS. And then here's the First Lady at the Station 9 Battalion with Fire Chief Edward C. Rice as she arrives to the DC Fire Department Engine 9 Company 9 Fire Station. So there she is in her pretty blue dress. She looks fantastic in light blue. I have to say, when during that walk during the inauguration, you couldn't get more classy than this First Lady. I'm telling you, not since Jackie Onassis. And let me say that Melania Trump, trumps her, of course, appropriately, pun intended, trumps even Jackie Onassis in terms of style and grace. And I have to say that, her light blue is definitely one of her best colors, but she wore it so elegant, so simple, elegant. She was simple elegance on that walk after the inauguration. So it was really amazing. So there you have, although I don't think that the dress she's wearing is a particularly beautiful dress. I think she would look good in anything, quite honestly. You could put a hefty trash bag on her and she would wear it beautifully. It's just my opinion. Okay, and so here she is handing out boxed lunches and showing the police department how much she appreciates them. And maybe we could do the same thing for our local police as well. Could you imagine the citizens actually organizing some event to thank the police, to maybe feed the police, to maybe tell them how much we appreciate them? Let's see. See, this is why the First Lady's doing this, right? If the First Lady's doing this, why can't we all do something like this too, right? So this is wonderful. And here she is in photograph with them, which was very nice. I don't know what's with this guy's hand signal, but whatever. That could mean the tip of the arrow, which is some people do know as I think it's a military hand signal indicating, it's like a morale kind of slogan or logo or something like that. But here they all are with their masks on. Oh, I can't wait until we're done with these masks. Okay. More meetings with the coronavirus task force. Tony the Rat Fauci still has his job. Whatever. Maybe not for long. And of course, we have Second Lady Karen Pence delivers remarks during the roundtable with staff members and patients in the Baltimore Crisis Response at the Baltimore Crisis Response, Inc. So there you have that, Karen Pence. And then, of course, you have, look at this crane lifting these gigantic weights and carrying them and putting them in the payload of these pickup trucks. This is what it's all about, getting Americans back to work, keeping infrastructure going, making and manufacturing quality products, better, maybe even better than before, because, American cars are just notorious for, I don't know, what should I say, unreliability. I'll tell you, when that Honda came out, that car sold itself, which was, as everybody remembers, was the commercial for Honda. You could go, all you had to do is do oil changes in that car, and it lasted forever. You'd rack up 200,000 miles on a Honda Accord or a Honda Civic, and no problem. It was such a reliable car, such an incredibly well-built car. And, fortunately, we have really comfortable, meaty cars, but they just don't have that kind of reliability that like the Honda Civic had, or Hondas in general, I would say. Although I think lately they might not be quite as good as they used to be, but I don't know that for sure. But if you have a Honda, definitely tell us about it. And then here we have the president walks to the podium to deliver the remarks during the Rolling Back Regulations Help All Americans event with, of course, the guards, the Marines who guard the president here. And you can see that there's always a Marine posted outside the Oval Office. That's how you know the president is in office. When there's not a Marine posted outside, the president is not in the office. Just a little tidbit in case people didn't know that. More pictures, massive, these gigantic weights. That's really an interesting commercial, looks like. And cranes. And cranes are something this president knows well, very, very well, being a real estate developer, having built so many skyscrapers, and having been on the job site inspecting construction sites all his life. This is something this president knows very well. Okay, and so this kind of sums it up. And then here you have Second Lady Karen Pence visiting Shenandoah National Park, which is so beautiful, just a beautiful view, in Front Royal, Virginia. Right. That's just kind of west of downtown DC, if I'm not mistaken. Beautiful, beautiful view there, the Shenandoah Valley. And here she is a little bit more with Second Lady, and taking a little hike on some of the trails here with the Interior Secretary David Bernhardt. And there you have it, taking a little hike. Beautiful. Okay, and of course there's a proclamation regarding the death of John Lewis, who has been a very long-standing public servant from the state of Georgia, and the president is recognizing his service to the country. And that's the end of this report. So I'm sorry it was a little bit longer than usual, folks, but we're pretty much done. I'm glad to see everybody. I'm glad to see everybody in the live chat there. Good comments. I appreciate everybody's comments. You're definitely very loyal viewers, and I appreciate that. I appreciate each and every one of you, honestly, to the bottom of my heart, because this is why I'm doing it. This is why I just want everybody to realize how hard our president's working for us. And at least we could do is work hard ourselves equally as well to show how hard he's working and just how far we've come, what we need to overcome, what obstacles were left for this president to have to overcome in order for us to move forward as a country. So, it's worth my time to spend with the viewers, with the public, to inform the public specifically of what the president does and how hard he works for us. So I'm happy to do that. I want to thank you all for joining me. I want to thank everybody for being in the live chat. I'm just going to say thank you to everybody. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you being here every week. And we may have some more changes to our schedule. There is a chance that we're going to do another change to our political theater reports, just because Jim has had some requests in terms of scheduling. So that schedule may change a little bit more again just before. We're going to stay on BitChute. The announcement that I have is that we are going to, have a place marker holder in YouTube. There'll be a link in the description section where you can just click and go right to the political theater report on BitChute. Have to do it that way, folks. And I wanted to also make a few comments about the upcoming election, because I think everybody needs to realize that we are dealing with a very dark force who wants to destroy our country. I think that our country is in peril right now. And I do believe that. You can see that with our own eyes, from all the anarchy, from the violence, from the willful and deliberate deconstruction of our Constitution, of our laws, and of course, symbolically, the destruction of our history through the destruction of all of these monuments and statues that should teach us a lesson. They should be there to serve to teach us not to repeat the past, that we had a troubled history, but we have, as a country, persevered despite them. So I hope that people who are involved in this anarchy realize that, the price they're taking to, that they're being paid to go out and commit this anarchy in the streets is going to come back to them in in kind. They're going to be arrested, they're going to be picked up, they're going to be found, and they have to come to the realization that they are woefully misled by whoever their leader is. If it's the Democrat Party, then so be it. And I think the idea of not isolating liberals is a good one. We need everybody to join forces. We need to be united. That's the only way we're going to defeat this enemy, folks. This invisible enemy of this dark enemy. And when I say dark enemy, I mean I refer to dark energy. This dark enemy that we are facing, who wants to destroy our country and our way of life. And I've never been more serious about this. We are in peril. We have to unite in order to succeed, or this country will fail. Divided we fall, folks. Divided we fall. Everybody can do something, and all you need to do is ask yourself. You don't need me to tell you. I don't know your life. I can't tell you. But you can decide what you can do for your country. So, yeah, a house divided cannot stand. It can't. Exactly. We really need to pray for our president, pray for his safety, pray for the first family, pray for the anarchy to stop. We can meditate, organize group meditations, but let's appreciate our police for protecting us, and let's trust the president that he's going to do the right thing as commander-in-chief and lead our country to victory. So that's all I've got for tonight. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, this hot weekend. And, it's going to be a hot summer, as Q has been saying. Follow the Q boards. I don't feel like I have to do little analysis of Q all the time, because everybody is very familiar with what this means now. Everybody can read the boards themselves. And not only that, if you listen to what someone else is breaking down and analyzing, they may not really interpret it correctly. And then then you have all these followers who just blindly follow along and say, well, that's what it means. That's what it means. That's what it means. And that's not what Q is about. We can't let people who are following Q to, force division among themselves because they believe Q is somebody or something or represents something, and it must be that and only that. So we have to check our egos all the time and make sure we're not trying to be the message, that we always allow Q to be the message. And Q at this point is doing a pretty good job speaking for itself, whatever Q is. They can communicate pretty well. And I think it's nobody's job to tell anybody what it means. It's okay to try to keep figuring these things out, but just use discernment whenever you listen to somebody, because it's very clear from the looks of it, from the looks of this board, it's very clear to me what's being said. Let's take a look real quick. You can see very clearly with your own eyes. If you can read, then you understand what Q's talking about here. So I think that everybody should take a step back and realize that, this is helpful information, but it's not only for our eyes to see. That's why when people go to interpret this, the enemy's watching. So don't think Q's going to tip off the enemy. Disinformation is necessary to throw the enemy off. And you don't know what part is disinformation and what part isn't. Maybe some things might be more obvious, like things that are being reported in the news or whatever that may or may not be accurate information anyway. But the bottom line is we all have to use discernment. And we can all read Q at this point. It's 3 years into this now almost, 2 3/4 year into this. And I think we can all pretty much determine what Q is telling us at this point. The question is, are we all going to take a part in saving this country? And, that's only an answer that you can answer for yourselves. That's only a question, rather, that you can answer for yourselves. Yeah. So this is how it's happened. Infiltration instead of invasion. And we talked about this a lot of times. It's a very important speech to me. The Kennedy speech was a very important speech, and that whole idea of what the president was trying to communicate is extremely important, and it couldn't, and is entirely relative. The secret society speech is entirely relative to what we're walking through and living through right now, what's playing out in front of us today. You know, there's still people who don't believe that the Nazis came over here after World War II. They don't want to believe it. And it's like, okay, well, why don't you go Google that and look it up, or go look in the history books. Why don't you go look in, you know, and find out what happened after World War II, and track all the movement of what changed in our country. Okay, so a lot was hidden, but a lot's come out. So, folks, everybody have a great weekend. Thank you for joining me. I'll be back next week with Political Theater on BitChute, and we will be back with a live stream, you know, every week. We're going to be doing our POTUS report. We never miss a week, never have. This is week 180. Thank you for joining me and being here along this journey, and being on this journey with me through this part of the journey anyway. We will continue to you know, report on the president, report on draining the swamp, reporting on holding the president's feet to the fire, which I can unquestionably say that the president has been sticking to his word and his promise to do the things that he said that he was going to do. So let's support our president, show him that we support him, and let's ask him, what can we do for our country? Because we need to step up to the plate right now and do something. So everybody have a great weekend, and we will say good night for now, and have a great weekend. And please share this video far and wide. And please give us a thumbs up if you've been watching and you haven't given us a thumbs up. Give us a thumbs up if you could, because that will help get the video recommended to everybody's channel, their news feed and YouTube and so forth. So have a great night, everybody. This concludes this edition of the GoldFish Report. Thanks for joining me.